Module 3, Unit 2, Using Device Interfaces. Guys, our objective for this unit is to distinguish the different peripheral devices, the device interfaces used in the computer. Ito yung mga graphics devices, networking interfaces, and their applications as well, kung saan sila ginagamit. And then we will also cover how to install and configure these input devices. So, when in a computer, you have seen these input devices to get started with. You can see this, from the image. Ito mga input device na to, these are the input and output devices. Actually, these are the ports that you can find at the back of the computer. And some of you, these ports, this is already familiar to all of us. Actually, you can see the video input devices. The video input devices and output devices from HDMI to DVI, and then the input ports for SATA, SATA, no? And then USB ports, and then for communications such as RJ45 and audio ports. These are the things that you can commonly found. These are the computer ports and the different connector types that are used to plug in these peripheral devices. Now, the USB, as we all know, stands for Universal Serial Bus. Marami ng classification, maraming types that you have seen, and you can see from the image, diba? You can see this kind of port. You can see what kind of USB this. May mga tinatawag na USB 1, USB 2, USB 3, and then lightning cable or lightning bolt. So this one is USB-C and USB 2, and then this USB as well for peripheral device. So usually, ang mga devices are plug and play. When we say plug and play, it's very literal. You plug the device and it's ready to use. Of course, you had to wait for a moment how fast your computer as well kung i-download yung mga device drivers until maging fully configured siya. It's automatic. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng plug and play interfaces. Minsan makita nyo PNP, no? Ang mga acronym niyan. So, ito, complete na siya. Usually, mga USB devices, it has its own power na rin to run, to operate, to power on a device. There are devices that usually mga portable or small enough that it doesn't need additional or external power supply. And ito, as I have said, about the version from USB 1 up to USB 3.1, they have, aside from the different shapes of the interfaces that you can see from here, they have different speeds. The first one has 12 Mbps. And then, of course, as a new version has been released, mas bumibilis na yung speed niya to 10 gigabits per second. Napakabilis na nito na to run, to download, to upload information for a USB 3.1 connected device. Now, meron din tinatawag na firewire. And you can distinguish from the shape itself. It's like USB. It's mistaken to be called as USB, but it's actually a firewire. And it's not mostly you can find on computers. And you can see from the shape itself, you see there is a notch. You cannot even interchange, or you cannot even, you will not be mistakenly connect a device, or ma-reverse ang connection niya. And then it has a speed of 400 Mbps. And the pins usually is either 6 pin or 4 pin. The pins that you can find, inside, those are the connecting, the connecting interface, the connecting junction within this interface that you can find. Connectors yon. If you use a magnifying glass, you can see it even more clearly. And then, meron din tinatawag na, as you all know, yung mga graphic devices, ito yung mga lalo na ginagamit sa mga gaming unit, mga gaming computers. Usually from this image, you can see may separate siyang interface connection for for display, and then there are, meron pang another CPU or GPU, what we call the graphics processing unit with heatsink. And then this is the interface, where you insert on the motherboard yung sa mga slots from ISA to PCI, if you remember that, as been discussed from the previous unit. And then the heatsink as well. As we all know, GPU, just like a processing unit, a microprocessor, it's a processing unit dedicated for graphics. It dissipates heat, kaya kailangan ng heat sinks. These connectors, this one is from this type of connector as DVI. As we all know, this is a VGA. These are the ones being plugged, no, sa monitor. Dito ang in and out ang signal. And then the connection to the board, as explained earlier, no, ito yung ini-insert sa slot inside the computer. And that's why usually sa mga graphics, kasi ito yung mga high performance graphics card that usually, di ba, sa mga CPU may mga built-in ng port ng monitor, but those are with good resolution, but it doesn't have the same performance capabilities with a graphic device with its own GPU. But sometimes as well, even yung mga high-end na computer, built-in na rin ito. And then for the purpose I've mentioned, yung GPU, it is for intended for graphics applications, a graphics processing unit with built-in memory. Of course, it will give you higher resolution and more in-depth color rendering. So aside from BGA, these ports, you can see all of those, and then you can from any monitors, and then the resolution, the ratio from as the screen resolution ratio, 4:3 or 16:4, and then mga high definitions and 4K imaging that actually generate sa mga graphics devices na like this. And then, usually, yung mga interface na ginagamit to connect a monitor, you have seen this, the HDMI. You can tell from the shape itself, di ba? Merong notch on both sides. So, it is mostly used on computers nowadays. And even at the back of the mga TVs, di ba? Mga HDMI na rin ang connection yan. And then, it has high resolution and high bandwidth capability. Mga 4K na. And then may mga HDMI na rin na tinatawag na mini HDMI, micro HDMI. These are smaller version of HDMI interface. And then there are also ports na tinatawag na display port, the one on top, and Thunderbolt connectors. This one you can see from the shape itself. This one you can tell, no, it is from for Android, and these are for Apple devices. So yung display port is a variation of HDMI. You can tell from this interface now there is only one notch on the side, so there's no way for you to to mistakenly connect to plug the cable or interchange it with HDMI because of the notch itself. And it has almost the same performance when it comes to HDMI. But this one, it can be used for daisy chaining monitors. This is what we call na pwede kang gumamit ng mga dual monitor to extend your display or to expand your screen display. So, just like as mentioned earlier, itong Thunderbolt sa baba, you can tell, di ba, kung sino yung Android and kanino yung Mac. I mean Apple devices. So meron tinatawag na Thunderbolt 3 that is used mostly in computers, even for ano, yung mga power supplies at Dell, you can find this Thunderbolt. And then it has a speed. It provides power, and it also used for transfer information na merong speed na 20 gigabits per second. And sometimes whether it's Thunderbolt 2 or 3, those are, I mean, they are interchangeable. They could be plugged together, but sometimes the software, Windows will tell you na it will not give you the same performance because you're not using the right version of Thunderbolt interface. And then the Thunderbolt 3, it has 40 gigabits speed, and usually it's a USB-C physical interface. Now, meron din tinatawag na DVI or Digital Visual Interface that is used on monitors as well. So you can tell from this image there's our variation of there are many versions from DVI digital, for DVI interlace, DVI dual link, and that is dual link. You can tell from this interface na mas maraming pin configuration, and there's notch. You cannot actually interchange them. So it's preceded by HDMI as VGA, yung analog, and then DVI, digital, basta digital. For digital interface, this is the connector being used sa mga monitors, lalo na sa PC. And even for analog display, meron ang tinatawag na adapter to change the connector from DVI to VGA. In VGA, I will show you later on you all know what it looks like. But for this slide alone, just to explore other terminologies that you need to know when it comes to DVI. So merong mga single link and dual link versions. And these are the type na pwedeng pang you can share, you can expand your monitors for dual display or extend the display itself. Inya lang, you can tell that these are malaki siya. Usually, mga ganyang size ginagamit sa communications because of the pins, the wires, just to come up with a digital interface. And the good thing about the DVI is that it is also backward compatible. In HDMI can use an adapter from HDMI to DVI, but there's no HDMI to VGA. But there is DVI to VGA. Yung mga adapter. So ito yung sinasabi ko na I was trying to explain as well earlier, yung one of the analog na interface for monitor. We always call this VGA, which stands for Video Graphics Array. And you can tell from the shape of the interface, ito yung front side. And then, you can see these retaining screws, to secure the connection para maging firm and hindi madaling matanggal. So you can tell from here, there are 15 pins and it's always colored blue. If it is not colored blue, it is not a VGA cable because meron din mga ganyang similarities na connectors, but it is used for different application. So ito yung one of the oldest monitor cable as we also called it since the days of CRT monitors, which stands for cathode ray tube. Ito yung mga parang TV, hindi pa mga flat screen, mga CRT monitors kung tawagin. Analog yon. Those are the early types of monitors and connectors. It's been around for many years. So ito yung connector sa likod ng computer, female interface, and ito yung male interface. Dito yung pins. Makikita mo if you look in front of it. And even sa mga LCD displays na VGA, some of them are still have a port for VGA. Now, for input devices naman, let's start with keyboard. this is a, a universal keyboard, and sometimes yeah, to make it more fancy or a little bit technical, they called it also na human interface devices. And maraming klase ng mga keyboards na you can find, you have used, di ba? Yung mga tinatawag na USB or Bluetooth. Meron pang tinatawag na PS2. Ito yung PS2 na meron pang pins, no? It's not the same. It's not USB, it's not Bluetooth. Bluetooth is wireless. And then yung legacy PS2, it's a rounded interface na maybe some of you have not seen it already. Pero kung meron man, that's a very old CPU that requires a PS2 connection. And maraming layout, di ba? Well, especially when you are starting to boot up a computer, it will ask you for a keyboard layout. May mga standard QWERTY, or sometimes it varies depending on the country or region you are located with. And another input devices that usually comes with the keyboard, di ba, yung mouse. Originally, it also comes with PS2. It started with PS2. Na ngayon, meron na ring wireless through Bluetooth or infrared or USB. So, mga dating mouse, di ba? Yung mga tinatawag na optical and laser designs. Meron trackball or trackball underneath that you can see, and then meron mga may mga laser lights inside to track the movement. And then that's how it's been encoded, how it sends signals para for control. And then ibang mouse, may mga advanced na may mga button, aside from right button and left button, may mga scroll button pa. And sometimes there's just one, lalo na I remember it when mouse sa Apple devices na isa lang ang button niya. And then there's also na input devices na this picture, what it's like, diba? Ito yung mga touchpads na tinatawag. Now you need to have a stylus or a pen to write down, and this is also what you can see on the commercial stores when you are, or even in government offices when you need to have to sign, no, to see before it's hard to digitize yung mga fingerprint scan, and then yung mga signature. And then nowadays, marami nito that you can find anywhere. No, touchpad or a touchscreen sometimes. And then may stylus pen, di ba? Now, when you are using a device to configure that, usually to load the device driver, it's automatic. It's plug and play, even the mouse, di ba? And it's ready to use the moment you plug it in. Mapa USB, mapa Bluetooth, or infrared. But there are other configurations that you can play with, or you can adjust with the mouse. For example, on this image that you can see, to open this, all you have to do is go to control panel or system properties, and then you look for the mouse, and then mouse settings, and then or right click on the control panel yung mouse, and you can see this mouse properties. And there's so many options if you click on these tabs. From button itself, minsan nare-reverse mo kung left-handed or right-handed. This is where you made the adjustment, or you can adjust the speed itself, or you turn on yung click lock. When you click, it's locked, diba? And then you parang dinadrag mo yung image. That's what it is. So even back in the day na from PS2 connectors pa up to USB and to wireless, you can see these settings. And the more advanced the mouse it is, you can see some other tabs in here, like to change the pointer, you may mga effects pa, and then to calibrate the wheel, for example, or if it is a special mouse na may mga proprietary na settings like this one, makikita nyo yan. All you have to do is right click or go to the control panel and look for the mouse properties. So Windows 11, just type in, as you open system properties, type in yung mouse, and it will prompt you to open this window. So as mentioned, in general, you can see some of this tab, but ito yung mga vendor specific, lalo ng mga special mouse, may mga ibang tab kayo makikita. And then, you can use yung tinatawag na, ang tawag dito kasi, applet. Applet is a small, it's a word, no, to use to describe applications, no, that in a way na yung common software applications, but applet is like a small software mostly used for device configuration. Now, there are also na mga properties even in the mouse, di ba? Meron yan yung display na you seldom change this, not unless for a particular or specific reason. And sometimes this is how you fine tune. Minsan kasi may mga user na very sensitive or detailed sa mouse control and keyboard control. And sometimes I mean by default depending on region, so you have to come up on these settings that you need to change even the language itself. So I mean that's what you commonly do, diba? When you are using a mouse or a keyboard, you need to have you need to plug in the correct port, configure it with an applet, diba? And then we set the adjust the regional layout settings, and and then you can also, I mean, switch between using this shortcut. You press the start and the space bar. May mga combination to control it. Now, when you're configuring, there's also an applet for configuring a pen and stylus. The same way to find it, type in, punta sa system properties or Windows 11, mas madali nang hanapin, just type in what you want to configure and it will bring you there. It will show up an option what to configure. Just pen stylus, that will do it. Sa mga older version ng Windows, you have to go to the control panel and device managers, no? You can do that, and then you can adjust the speed, the duration, the same thing that you need to work on, and you could adjust depende sa user or depende sa sometimes we call it customers, no? Most of the time, no, depende sa user actually in general, customer man o yourself. Now, another interfaces that you are also be familiar with is the Bluetooth, diba? It's been anywhere now. And just to let you know, it's actually a radio signal, no? And it is used for personal networks, personal area networks or PAN. So it is for short range, and usually it is used for home appliances, diba? And when you connect even your phone, for example, it could go up to 10 meters distance and you still have a good signal quality or sound quality or image quality. So it has a speed of 3 Mbps for Bluetooth EDR and 24 Mbps for Hisense, no, or Wi-Fi, wireless fidelity ang tawag doon. So usually pinipair yan ang Bluetooth, diba, when you configure it. And sometimes they are plug and play. But when you do it, you all know this already. All you have to do is you need to be in a close proximity, and then there is a pairing button that you need to click, and then you have to enter the pin. That's how you do it. Merong sa Windows, di ba? I-discover mo yung device, you click on it, and it will tell you to pair. No, it will ask for a pairing, and sometimes automatic pairing na rin. Even on stereos, you can find this. And to disable the Bluetooth, all you have to do is go to Bluetooth devices, device and printers, and then right-click on it, and you can disconnect the device because it's only one device at a time sa Bluetooth, di ba? Now, there's another interface that you've been using every day, and just for the terminologies, is also what we call the RFID or the NFC devices, yung near field communications. So when we say RFID, di ba, it stands for radio frequency identification. Ito yung mga ginagamit sa mga yung mga for actually means it's a company for inventory management, for access the building. Sometimes they call it as fob, FOB. Tinatawag nila fob. Dito narinig ko yan sa US, they call it as fob. Sa atin, RFID, di ba? I don't know how we call it in the Philippines right now. But these are radio frequency pa rin operated. It contains with data. Data, it could be your ID, your name, your employee ID, or that matches with access restrictions to enter the building. Or it could be a smart card. When you open a smart card, you will see something inside like this. And the other one is NFC, which is also wireless, but this one is somehow active, hindi passive. Kasi when we say passive, this one is hindi peer-to-peer communication. It's one way, and sometimes there's no power. Kaya siya passive, walang power yan. Encoded ang data. Naka-store na sa ano niya, sa fob mismo, sa unit na to. So unlike near-field communications, it's peer-to-peer communication. When we say peer-to-peer communications, it's two-way. It's two-way. From, for example, sa time and attendance, no, and then your phone. So they are exchanging information. In time attendance, nilalag yung information mo. Ikaw naman, you are sending your ID. So the same thing with, even in buses, physical access, they are both small frequencies with encoded data. The only difference, guys, that you need to remember is RFID is passive devices. It's one way, and then NFC is peer-to-peer. It's two-way communication. And mostly sa personal use to, industrial use then. And here RFID mostly use it. It's rarely that, it's never, I never seen na ginagamit yan for personal use, no? Usually sa company yan na nakikita nagagamit, I mean. Now, this has been discussed even from the previous units. Now, the other, network cards, are another device interfaces, diba, that is used for communication, or what we all know in networking. So when we say networking, meron network interface with the connector port, diba, RJ45, and the card itself. Ito yung ini-insert pa sa CPU, or those that comes with that already on board, which is built in, pinaplug na lang. And then the connector here, the RJ45, ito itsura niya, di ba? If you enlarge it, those are 8 pins. And then the RJ45 cable, it comes with color. There are people or IT people that would really do the termination, or you can just buy this from the store. Minsan ang tawag dyan is patch cord or RJ45 cable. You've seen this, the one we use now. We plug on the Ethernet port and the network interface card and into the wall. Now, ito rin yung another connector that you will find, lalo na sa mga DSL, no, sa mga modems. Ito yung RJ11. It has 4 pins, the same shape. RJ din kasi siya, the same shape with RJ45, only that fewer wires, 4 pins nga. And these are usually in the day that if you're still using DSL, ito yung ginagamit. And it is also used for fax, if you have seen that, or modems, na meron ding separate card that is also plug into the computer. Pag kailangan ng modem. Before, modem ang ginagamit to connect to the internet. Yung tinatawag na dial-up. And it is an analog signal. And for DSL, it uses the same connector. They also call it a telephone connector. It's also used actually on the analog phones, RJ11. Now, in this unit, it is recommended that to do a lab activity, try to configure the input devices. We all know it's plug and play. We all know that the device drivers are download it from the internet if your computer is connected to the internet, or you have to install it manually with input devices that comes with CD or installation software in order to configure the right device driver. So usually, pag ang ginaganda ng mga plug and play is that if your computer is connected to the internet, you plug the device, it will download and configure, install automatically the updated and the correct device driver. Aside from those that comes with whenever you buy a device driver like or an peripherals like scanners and printers, may mga installer yan, di ba? May mga CD. Usually aside, it comes with the device driver and the management suite. So management software suite, how to operate the peripheral like printer, scanner. So it is recommended that you try to practice this and explore the properties, the adjustment that you can do, not only on mouse and keyboards, even if you right click or go to the system properties and device properties of, for example, the scanner or printers, you can see other options, especially the printers. You've seen those, diba? When you adjust the pages and so on. So in this unit, we covered and be able the different peripheral devices, the device interfaces that's used in computer, from graphics to networking, and then we discuss how to install and how it is configured, how you can configure the different input devices that you will find. So I hope this has been informative to you. See you in the next unit. Thank you.